And Andre, you know Frank very well. Can he resurrect Luck's career?
There's no doubt about it. I think, Frank is a student of the game, and people don't realize during those no-huddle years when we had the no-huddle, and if you look at offenses now, there's an element of a no-huddle in every single offense. But Frank, student of the game, actually Jim Kelly really didn't. He called the plays, but he confided with Frank more than anybody. He was more of an offensive coordinator a lot of times. And then, obviously, the comebacks. The greatest comeback of all time. Yeah, that's what I like to tell you.
Well, Frank Reich has two of them.
He has two of them. College and pro.
I mean,
you were huge in that game, too. Yourself.
Yeah, and I think what he's going to do in Indianapolis, he's going to let those guys go. Of course, having a healthy Andrew Luck is going to be very important. T.Y. Hilton has to get back to that Pro Bowl status again. And who knows if Frank Gore is going to play another year or two. I mean, I think someday he'll be a Hall of Famer. He's kind of one of those guys that has all these yards, you don't even know it. And he just continues to produce. So he's just a very subtle guy, Frank is. And he's not flamboyant. He's just going to get those guys together and say, hey, this is how we do it. And obviously what he did with Carson Wentz and what he did with Nick Foles. And I think he's going to do a great job there.
How do you compare Andrew Luck to a lot of the great quarterbacks he's worked with? You mentioned Carson Wentz, but Peyton Manning, even Jim Kelly, who he played behind.
Yeah.
How do you kind of compare Luck's tools to those guys?
Well, Andrew Luck is almost the same. I mean, he's kind of like built like Jim, but obviously he's a little more mobile, just as smart, if not smarter. I think he's going to get the best out of him as he can. And again, in the NFL, the quarterback is the most important position. It's a quarterback-driven league, and if you don't have the quarterback calling those plays and you don't have the confidence, and Greg knows, no confidence in a quarterback, the offense doesn't go anywhere. So it's going to be important that he gets on the same page as Frank, and they get on the same page together.
What I heard from Frank during the press conference was good. They were saying, well, you weren't the first choice. And he really answered it great. He was like, I've been through that before where I had to come off the bench and get it done. I don't have an issue with not being the first choice.
Yeah.
Just talk about his demeanor and like not being all caught up on that, about him having to be the star of the show.
He never was like that. And I think he played his role so good there in Buffalo that he knew, well, when it's my turn, I got to produce. And that's really how it is in the NFL. A lot of times these quarterbacks go down, and you got to have confidence in that second guy coming in. You guys were talking the last segment about Kirk Cousins. Where's he going to go? He's the number one guy wherever he's going to go, whether it be in Cleveland or wherever. But you got to have somebody behind him that can just pick up the slack if something goes wrong.
I think that's an interesting point you just made about making sure that he has somebody behind, because he was a behind-the-scenes guy. He was a second guy. And when you look at Andrew Luck, we talk about resurrecting his career. Andrew Luck is a player that is very exciting when healthy. I think when we say resurrecting his career, it's more predicated on his health, because there was nothing wrong with Andrew Luck's career when he was playing, other than the fact that I think what Coach Reich would do is eliminate his turnover ratio.
Because, see, Greg, I was just about to say, before he got hurt, he was turning the ball over a lot.
His turnover ratio.
And that was the big thing.
But we were okay with that because he gave us so much greatness in the passing game and even with his legs. I think that's the part that he's going to really help Andrew Luck with, is knowing when to take chances and when not to take chances. When you look at Carson Wentz in 2016, he had 14 interceptions. He was a rookie, but then coming up into this year, he cut those interceptions in half. So I think that's where he will be best suited.
Yeah, and as a quarterback, you got to pick your spots, and you got to know where to throw the ball. A lot of times, in defenses now, they're closing those gaps down. They're closing the zones down. You got to be able to know if that zone's open right away, hit it. If not, you got to take your second guy, take the third guy, check down. That's really the progression. So, and Andrew Luck has done that his whole career. And this, like you said, this health thing and with his shoulder, that's going to be big coming into training camp. Even if he throws or whatever's going to go on, that's the confidence that they both have to have in each other.
You mentioned Frank, when he was a player, you saw like he was like an offensive coordinator. You probably could see he'll be a good quarterbacks coach one day. Those are kind of what he's been. Now it's a different role as the head coach. What would you say to him as far as, okay, you're stepping into this different role versus what you've done already?
I think, he was in Philadelphia, and And actually, Doug Peterson, I was in Kansas City one year, and Doug Peterson was the quarterback coach under Andy Reid. So I think they worked together so well. I think that's why they did well, because they were quarterback coaches, same offenses maybe similar. But, you know, Frank's going to do – he's not going to go over his head. And I think he's just one of those guys that just, here's the paper, this is what we're going to do. He's going to put elements in there that he's going to – where he thinks the offense is best at. Obviously, you got to run the football, but he's not going to try to protect anybody. If Andrew Luck is healthy enough to play, that's the guy.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.